Okay, let me give you just some of the highlights from the affidavit, the important part of the affidavit. This is the story now from the police that Paul Pelosi had a break-in at his house, and they arrested this guy named DePape, and he spilled his guts. He sang like a bird as soon as they read him his Miranda rights, and here's what he said. DePape said he pulled a hammer from Pelosi's hand and swung the hammer, striking Pelosi in the head. Now, I want to go back just a little bit here because I need you to hear what the police said at first. At 2:31 a.m., San Francisco Police Department, the officer Colby Wilms responded to the Pelosi residence, knocked on the front door. Now listen to this, because this is odd. When the door was opened, Pelosi and DePape were both holding a hammer with one hand, and DePape had his other hand holding onto Pelosi's forearm. Pelosi greeted the officers. Now, wait a minute. Hang on a second. First of all, what do you mean the door was opened? Who opened the door? Was Stretch Armstrong there? What happened? Who opened the door? And when they opened it, Pelosi and DePape were both holding a hammer with one hand. DePape had his other holding onto Pelosi's forearm. So we know it couldn't be DePape that opened the door. And again, unless Pelosi is Stretch Armstrong, who opened the door? Pelosi greeted the officers. Hey, how are you guys doing? The officers asked what was going on. DePape responded that everything was good. Officers then asked Pelosi and DePape to drop the hammer. Here's the affidavit now. DePape pulled a hammer from Pelosi's hand and swung the hammer, striking Pelosi in the head. Officers immediately went inside and were able to restrain DePape. While the officers were restraining DePape, Pelosi appeared to be unconscious on the ground. Officers removed a cell phone, cash, clipper cards, and an unidentified card from DePape's right shorts pocket. So he wasn't in underpants. He was in shorts. DePape provided officers his first and last name. After officers asked DePape if he had ID on him, DePape said, "Yeah, it might be in my backpack on the back porch." He later stated, "My backpack's near the broken glass, dudes." When officers removed DePape from Pelosi's residence, police body-worn camera footage showed a glass door that appeared to be laminated glass broken near the door handle. San Francisco Police Department uncovered zip ties in the Pelosi bedroom and also in the hallway near the front door of the Pelosi residence. In addition, law enforcement searched DePape's backpack at the Pelosi residence. They found, among other things, a roll of tape, white rope, one hammer, one pair of rubber and cloth gloves, and a journal. So there were two hammers, but one was in the backpack. Witness statements. San Francisco police officer Colby Wilms was able to interview a witness one, who saw an individual all in black carrying a large black bag on his back walking near the Pelosi residence where witness one was parked. Okay, so hang on just a second. So if he was all dressed in black, did he put blackface on his legs? Because we just found out he was wearing shorts. Okay.
Well, you could be dressed in black and have your very white skin showing.
Yeah, it would be weird.
That's what we're doing today.
Witness number one was working private security at an address nearby. Witness one then heard what he sounded like a banging on either the door or a car and heard sirens within a minute or two. Pelosi was interviewed by the police officer, Adrian Stark, in the ambulance during the transport to San Francisco General Hospital. Pelosi stated he had never seen DePape before. Pelosi was asleep when he came into his bedroom and stated he wanted to talk to Nancy. When Pelosi told him that Nancy was not there, he said, well, he just sit and wait. When he then said, Nancy's not going to be home for several days, DePape reiterated he would wait. Pelosi was then able to go into the bathroom, in which he was able to call 911. He stated when the officers arrived, that was when DePape struck him with a hammer. In subsequent interview with law enforcement officers, he said that the hammer did not belong to the Pelosi family. In a Mirandized and recorded interview by the San Francisco police, DePape stated he was going to hold Nancy hostage and talk to her. If Nancy were to tell DePape the truth, he would let her go. If she lied, he was going to break her kneecaps.
Okay.
DePape was certain that Nancy would not have told the truth. In the course of the interview, DePape articulated he viewed Nancy as the leader of the pack of lies told by the Democratic Party. DePape also later explained that by breaking Nancy's kneecaps, she would then have to be wheeled into Congress, which would show other members of Congress there were consequences to actions. DePape also explained generally that he wanted to use Nancy to lure another individual to DePape. DePape stated that he broke into the house through the glass door, which was a difficult task and required the use of a hammer. DePape stated that Pelosi was in bed, appeared surprised by DePape. DePape
I'm sure.
Yeah, DePape told Pelosi to wake up. DePape told Pelosi that he was looking for Nancy. Pelosi responded she wasn't present. Pelosi asked how they could resolve the situation, and let's see. And what DePape wanted to do. He stated he wanted to tie Pelosi up so DePape could go to sleep, as he was pretty tired because he had to carry a backpack to the residence. Doesn't that seem like your average hippie? Man, I had to walk up all these hills. I'm sleepy. Why don't you keep your eye out for the coppers while I take a nap? Around this time, DePape started taking out twist ties from his pocket so he could restrain Pelosi. Pelosi moved towards another part of the house, but DePape stopped him. Together, they went back to the bedroom. While talking with each other, Pelosi went into the bathroom where he grabbed a phone to call 911. He said, DePape said he felt like Pelosi's actions compelled him to respond. He remembered thinking there was no way police were going to forget about that phone call. DePape explained he did not leave after Pelosi's call to 911 because, much like the American founding fathers with the British, he was fighting against tyranny without an option of surrender. Okay, now here's the interesting thing. DePape stated that they went downstairs to the front door. The police arrived and knocked on the door, and Pelosi ran over to open it. Pelosi then grabbed onto DePape's hammer, which was in DePape's hand. At this point in the interview, he repeated that DePape did not plan to surrender and he would go through Pelosi. Okay, so wait, why would you go back to the hammer? Police are there. Why would you go back to the hammer? That doesn't make any sense. There's something wrong with the door thing. I don't know what it is, and it might be just a error somewhere, but there's something wrong with that.
We should eventually know.
We should see the video,
right?
We should see the video. Now, when he's talking about founding fathers, that's weird because remember that thing we fixed after 9/11 when people overstay their visas? Mm-hmm. You know, we kick them out right away so we know who's here because that was so important.
We're very concerned about security.
Yeah, and Department of Homeland Security, that's what they do. This guy, long time overstay. He's a Canadian. He's an illegal alien from Canada. So he's really into our founding fathers? This hippie that has Black Lives Matter on his house? Really?
It's an interesting profile of a person, I'll tell you that.
It sure is. It sure is. My guess is he's crazy. But I just want to point out how good it is of the media. You know, they haven't figured out the January 6th pipe bomber. Can't find him. Don't know where he is. Don't know who he is. What? Yeah, we have video, but what are we going to do with video? I mean, it's not like we have facial recognition or anything like that. We couldn't. He's on the phone at the time. There's no way we could triangulate and find out, where he was, who he was, by just using a phone like that. Of course, we haven't found the Supreme Court leaker, a single one of Epstein's clients. We don't know the motive of the Las Vegas shooter, but Paul Pelosi, that midnight visitor, man, they knew he was a Republican that fast. And it's good to know. It's good to know. By the way, the mainstream media, and here's the problem, the mainstream media picks and chooses. If it was, fair and honest and balanced, and they told the truth about everything, you wouldn't have this argument. But the right wing is out of control. It's weird because I don't think it was the ones who was responsible for burning cities down and hundreds of attacks on Republicans. So, I mean, I don't know if you know this, but there are 639 receipts for their violence and mass shooting. There was the time that Jane Fonda promoted kidnapping, caging, and raping Barron Trump. I love that one. That was a super favorite. They attacked Roger Stone's handicapped wife while walking a dog, vandalized the homes of political opponents, tried to kick in the front door of Tucker Carlson, journalists that stabbed two Trump supporters, the home of a Trump supporter that was bombed. They drove through a crowd of Trump supporters. They've left dead animals and threats outside of Republican homes. They've threatened to burn down the homes of Trump supporters, shot at Trump supporters, fired a gun at a march, beat a 77-year-old for wearing a MAGA hat, threatened Republicans on Twitter every day, sent ricin to Trump, taught leftists to hate students. They've defaced property of Trump supporters. They egged children at a Trump rally. Teachers threatened death on GOP. They've beaten a 12-year-old boy for a Trump sign, beat a woman for wearing a Trump hat. They've destroyed property. We have 300 stories like that. Just thought I would. But that, real quick, that New York Post hacker last Friday, the guy who wrote Rufo, he took over the feed of the New York Post. He worked at the New York Post. Okay. He's apologized. He said, oh, man, it was just the utmost betrayal of my people. I pretended to hack into the New York Post website. And, it was my job, but I let my stupidity get the best of me. But I want you to know I deserve to get fired, but it wasn't politically motivated. Let me just give you a few of the posts. Rufo, we must destroy and imprison union teachers. Zeldin, Eric Adams is New York City's fried chicken eating monkey. Governor Abbott, I'll order Border Patrol to start slaughtering illegals. Zeldin, I'll rape and batter Hochul's sorry ass. The New York Post, he also posted, we must assassinate AOC for America. Divine, we must murder Joe and Hunter Biden. The New York Post, he posted, Frank, I'll beat up the sorry-ass Bergen bitches like Gottheimer and his family. I don't know why people say that those were politically motivated.
Maybe there's the slightest hint of politics involved, but it's difficult to detect unless you're really a trained observer.
Yeah. I could go on. I have 135 attacks on pro-life people just between May 3rd and September 24th. But remember, it is the Republicans that are conspiracy theorists. One more thing. I'm sorry. Kathy Hochul has come out yesterday with a very important thing. She says that the people who mention, anything to do with the race being fixed, data deniers, and conspiracy theorists, she said these are master manipulators. There's a conspiracy that they're peddling now, that there's this conspiracy going all across America to convince people that in democratic states, they're not safe. Wow, what a conspiracy that is. Who's the conspiracy theorist?